Hey there, gang. So what I've got for you guys here today is one match that I played against a very coordinated and strong group of survivors that really knew what they should be doing. And I had a very tough early game that was borderline compromising right from the get-go. We played this match on Toba, which is a map I don't have entirely too much experience with. I've played it a good handful of times, but not consistently enough to where I have everything fully programmed yet, I guess you could say. And the early game, the first few chases were really rough. You know, the survivors had some good pre-run distance. They had some pretty decent tiles. They knew how to chain tiles. They chained them to very strong pallets. And I was at a point where my first hook hadn't come for so long that even with corrupt, I mean, it was just GG. You know, good survivors, they're not just gonna hang out, you know, prop up their feet during corrupt. They're gonna be looking for the non-corrupt gens when you're not in chase because, you know, remember, you're clown. You know what I mean? Like, clown has no map pressure. He has no map mobility. His strength and what he focuses on, you know, his highlight is he's a chaser. He finds somebody, he starts a chase, he commits to that chase, he downs them, he hooks them, and he creates pressure around that. That's what Clown does. You counter Clown by not engaging with him whatsoever and just doing gens. You know, the only person who engages with Clown is the one who which he focuses his attention. You know, that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what the survivors we went against in this match did. You know, like I said, we had a very tough early game. The survivors had some good pre-run distance. They seemed pretty competent. They seemed like they knew what they were doing. And as a result, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and just preface it, gang. We can go ahead and I'm just going to tell you right now, you know, I wasn't very happy for a lot of this game. Y'all are going to see a lot of frustration. I vocalized it very clearly multiple times how frustrated I was with that match, okay? I want to make that clear that I recognize this, gang. I'm not so much justifying it. I'm putting it on display, and I'm showing that, yes, this happens, gang, because, you know, here's the thing. I've played DBD for a long while. I know the state of the game. You know, I understand pacing, right? I understand what survivors are capable of. And you're going to see me regularly make these call-outs. You know, I'm going to call out the breaking of the 3-gen. I'm going to calling out the pacing of the gen speeds. I'm going to be calling out the you know, how strong they're playing their resources. You know, I'm going to be putting all of this on display. And I'm going to show y'all the extent that I had to do in order to get the win. You know, I use this term a lot, gang. Sometimes, well, I want to say a lot. I use it a lot recently on stream, a good amount of times. I call it pushing back the sun. You know, it's literally just this idea that you have to literally, as, you know, one person with such magnitude and strength exert enough force, literally, to push back the sun. That is the equivalence of what you need to achieve to win some of these matches, gang. Like, they are so damn rough. They are so tough that they are borderline insurmountable. You have to literally, like I said, push back the sun. And that's what we kind of had to do here. You know, again, this team very coordinated, macro-wise. They were doing gens. They broke the 3-gen. They were very good micro and chase, pre-run, ran to strong pallets. How we were able to win this game was not in so much dependent on it. At a certain point in the match, the match was basically secured for the survivors. I should not. Getting a 2K would be pushing it, because it was looking like I would get my 1K just as the final gens would pop. I would get my second hook right during the in-game collapse or around the post-gen phase. And worst case scenario, gang, they could 99 the gates because it would be first hook, right? They could then end up just going ahead and opening the gates. They could get out. That's what is usually would have happened in the situation that I was expecting, right? That's why you're going to see a lot of despondence. You know, you're going to see a lot of, like I said, frustration. I'm very resigned. You know, I have accepted a very negative possible outcome because I have the previous hindsight experience. I'm very perceptive a very strong survivor capability, and that's kind of what I was playing into. I already kind of knew what I figured should have happened, gang. Now, why didn't it happen? Let's talk about that. What went wrong for the survivors? Well, what y'all are going to see, I don't want to go too much into it. We'll talk about that afterward. But what y'all are going to see what happens when survivors make a controversial mistake in micro gameplay. You know, excuse me, it's both micro and macro. This is actually really more macro, let's be honest. You're going to see a very big mistake in macro gameplay because you have 4 survivors, and as a result, you can achieve so much as a team if you really diversify your pressure, and that's not really something that took place. So again, we'll get into that, you know, in the aftermath of the match. I'll let you guys see for yourself everything that really took place, but I just wanted to really explain and talk about, you know, the main important concepts before we kind of went into this. Again, the reason I'm showcasing this, it was a damn near insurmountable match that I had to literally do everything right. I had to push back the sun. The survivors made their own mistakes, and I wanted to kind of show why it is sometimes I'm so frustrated. Because, gang, I get that way, gang. You know, that's just how it is. You know, I you know, am invested in this game. You know what I mean? And winning. I like winning. I have a very competitive mindset. And when I read the writing on the walls, you know what I mean? That's all it boils down to. So, I mean, since I sometimes feel like I put people off, I wanted to really go into that, too. You know, I wanted to explain that. I wanted to put a match on display as where that comes from. You know what I mean? So, yeah. We're going to now transition into the match, and we'll talk about everything that happened afterward. I feel like I'm still learning this map. Hey, Reese, how are you doing? This is beautiful. We can momentum this. Really, I overshot, dude. Holy fuck. Wait, yes? Dude, he did the thing! He did the thing, gang! He did the thing! That's really annoying. Fucking hell, dude. Yeah, he literally got enough distance last second off of that. This is not a good chase to really be taking, but I need to get something going. I needed to sleep. This is a waste of my fucking time. By the way, if I didn't have Corrupt, I would be losing 2 gens by now. If you're wondering why you have Corrupt, this is literally an example. I would have lost 2 gens already. Instead, I have maybe half a gen done, potentially, at best. Maybe 75, it depends. But at this point, if you didn't have Corrupt, you would have lost, like, all your shit. Yep, so, yeah. Remember, this is through Corrupt, gang. I don't have any, hit on anybody. She's just not gonna pre-drop it, I guess. Beautiful. Fucking hell, dude. This looks like a good team, but I'm probably going to lose this game already. Not having it down at this point is going to probably mean I've already lost the game. Because the thing is, unless they just throw like crazy... Unless they just throw like crazy, this game's literally over. I lose. GG's. So... Yep, GG's. Remember, I have Corrupt Intervention, right? So, game's over. I don't even know where she went. Oh well, we lose, gang. We lose. GG's. Fun match, fun DBD balance. You know, nice job. This is one of those situations, by the way, because you know how Survivors DC'd my shit. If we had no DC penalty, I would just DC from this game. Because it's just not worth playing out. Ay, man. I'm gonna be down to 1.5 gens pretty soon. Remember, I had corrupt. So this game would already be over. GG's. Good balance. Remember, gang, some people don't camp or tunnel, they believe. Some people pretend they, you know, 5K at 4 gens without camping or tunneling. I sure believe you. You get really good survivors when you play, I'm sure. There's no point in really doing anything. Like, I have to kind of hope they get an early unhook. But they're not. They're just doing gens because that's what good survivors do. I guess, you know what I mean? So... I guess I just have to overextend this far, and I have to just wait, camp this gen. This is what I literally have to do. They broke my 3 gen. Hey, notice how they broke the 3 gen too? Yeah, I wonder how often it is a lot of people who say that stupid shit. They don't have survivors that break the 3 gen, wait last second to unhook and all that dumb crap. I swear, man. She probably is going to heal through We'll Make It or something. I'm just going to coup. Oh, man. He got healed. Wow. Good thing I have 5 stacks of Q, though. Yep, still have 5 stacks. Holy shit, the power of forward. Look, that gen stun, gang. Oh, man. What I told y'all it was GG's, you know what I mean? I wasn't kidding when I said this game is literally GG's at that moment. So. Do you know why they're not dropping the pallets? Because they know they shouldn't be doing that, so I guess we just camp this out or something. I was trying to see if I could bait her into dropping it. I'm just gonna kick this pallet. Fake it. Probably did just tap it. She's got unbreakable. They went to heal. If we hurry, we get this. Holy fucking shit. He's not even on death hook. That's just DBD's incredible balance, man. Three stacks of Q. Holy fucking shit. Still not over, gang. It's still not fucking over. I need to focus up. They went so fucking far to reset. I guarantee they're not fucking around, gang. They're not fucking around. They went far to reset is my guess. They didn't stay on this side of the map. I might be wrong. Yeah, I was right. I was like, they're not finding out. Riskies, yeah. I'm gonna get my fucking 4-man because we know she's over here as well. I don't know why I thought she was in here. Holy fucking shit. What a fucking game, dude. Did I not just hear footsteps? I think we're good. Holy fucking shit, dude. That's all I can say about this game. See, I'm not going... Here's what I'm not gonna do, gang. I'm not gonna camp this. Why? Oh my gosh. Wow. I was about to say, if she's on this gen, gang, and she were to somehow get that done through whatever fucking means, and he has adrenaline off hook, and she comes in to trade, and like, this could have actually still gone backwards, so... Holy shit. We're just gonna take what we can get, man. GG's. Gee fucking jeez. I really thought I was gonna lose that with how bad that early game was, man. Holy fucking shit, that game. This game. They broke the 3-gen early. They had good support for each other. What really killed them, you know what I think lost them the game? They went down on this gen. If they didn't go down on this gen, and then play around it because of that, due to the progress it had, they would have probably beat me handedly. But that literally is where they started to throw. Say GG, well played. I'll be polite, because they did play well. So like I said, gang, before we went into the match, you know, expect some frustration. You know what I mean? I was not exactly very pleased for, you know, most of the match. And I mean, you know, as it hopefully was demonstrated, there was good reason for that. You know, like I said, these survivors were coordinated. The gens were going at the rate that I was calling it. You know, when I was saying we're at X gens left, I didn't just mean, you know, when it came to one gen, right? Like, we're at 75% of a gen. That could be 50% on one gen. That could be 25% on another in addition, right? Like, I'm talking about the collective progress of survivor gen speeds. And I'm passively tracking that from the start of the game. You know, survivors are not going to, like I said, I think I said in the beginning, survivors with corrupt intervention, they're not just going to hang out. You know, they're not just going to be chilling, wait until it's gone. They're going to be looking for the uncorrupted gens at the start of the game. Because again, Clown can only pressure one survivor. You know, he can only be on one at a time. And they are going to, you know, in the process, they're going to play around that. They're going to sit on those gens. They're going to be doing them as quick as they can. And when I was having problems converting any pressure in the early game, starting a quick chase, getting a quick down, that is when I knew things were likely already just, they were over, you know, because there was going to be nothing I could do. And, you know, it probably wouldn't be so much the case if Made for This wasn't a thing, but that's the problem. That extra 3% speed, you know, it enables you to do a lot. And I mean, you know, the Nick Cage that we chased at the beginning of the game He had dramaturgy for the bonus haste, and he had 3%, so he was playing with the 3% till he needed to get the extra speed boost. Honestly, it's pretty creative. I'll definitely give that respect, but hopefully y'all can at least see my problem, right? The problem that I had, because, the dice rolled in his favor, and as a result, we couldn't beat him to the pallet, and because he played the pallet possession well, and we weren't able to get a hit in, and we ended up beating the stun, and we had to then eventually break the chase because he took us to a terrible tile. We couldn't get anything going, gang. We literally couldn't get anything going. Look at these builds here, gang. Short of the Renata seems to be built for doing gens. Props to him. And I mean, he had the med kit for the self efficiency. We have a Claude that has Iron Will, made for this Hope and Dead Hard. Like, holy shit, look at this Chase build. This is actually insane. She even brought a syringe and a speed boost on her medkit, gang. Like, this is literally just player 1. Player 2, made for this. I'm assuming I think this is plot twist. Dramaturgy, very interesting. And, Windows with a toolbox. This is player 2. So we've got 2 made for thises, right? And then up here, we've got a 3rd made for this with the head-on. It's people are taking this made for this, and they're being very creative with exhaustion perks that have more on-demand flexibility. Head-on, when you go for a head-on, you go into a locker. It's not like a locker falls on your face and you have to be in it and then you play around. Like, that's something that comes into play when you want it, when you're playing around it. You know what I mean? So you've got that with this one player's made for this build. This person's got made for this with Dead Hard. Made for this with, so they're running the loops with the 3% speed. If worst case, push comes to shove, and you have to lunge to get them at that pallet. Well, now they got the health state, right? And it's like, it's such a shame because too, when you look at builds like this, the way you counter builds like this, you break the base kit BT when you tunnel. I'm just saying, gang, it really does suck. She's not going to have this first chase. She's going to have this first chase, which is, good enough. I mean, y'all saw she was able to make it to Shack Pallet. Remember when she made it to Shack Pallet? Remember how that loss cost me so much pressure? What a coincidence, right? You know what I mean? She had 3%. And that's the big deal with this. Where this really punishes Clown the most, this 3% extra haste that survivors get to their speed, is when you aren't proactively constantly slowing them down with your pinks. If you are playing in any circumstance where you either need to reload or you just don't really have the angle or the positioning for whatever circumstance else, you just can't get that pink going, you're just SOL. That's GG's. And it's just because they brought this perk. That's the only difference. It's not like they brought the perk and they did a gen in order to activate it. They cleansed the totem or any of that nonsense. They healed a survivor. They unhooked someone. They don't have to do anything. The way you get value from this 3% is you make a mistake and chase. That's really the self-explanatory breakdown of it, because you get it when you're injured, and there's no other condition. There's no other condition to activate it. You just get it when you're injured. And because we hit that Claude, remember when we hit the Claude when she was sliding over the pallet, and then she started holding W, and she just barely made it to that pallet? She made it to Kill Shack, so able to stun me. She was just barely able to make it. That's that 3%, gang. And it's just one of the things you gotta deal with the Clown, and it's one of those things that will cost you your matches. That's why I got very despondent. That's why I got very pessimistic, because I know the pacing of this game. I know what really smart survivors at a higher level will do. I understand the macro sense of just what coordinated survivors will do together in tandem. And that was why I was ready to just reject the outcome. I knew there was really nothing I should have been able to do. And let's talk about that, gang. Let's talk about that. So I end up eating a pallet stun from the Claude. We end up looking to go for another chase because I obviously can't do anything there. I'm calling out the state of the gen speeds. I find Nick. I'm able to down Nick. I hook Nick. But the thing is, no one's coming to unhook Nick. Nick is sitting away from my gens. The survivors, because they know they have 60 seconds on first hook state, they don't come immediately. Instead, they just hang out, they do their gens. And, I'm Clown. Again, I'm clown. So when it comes to pressuring the map, when it comes to do anything about them doing gens while simultaneously pressuring my hook, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to make a decision. And that was basically the problem that I was kind of in. With how delayed and late getting that hook in was, and with how they have been consciously and proactively doing my generators, I knew that I basically had to decide myself, do I put myself in a better position to contest this unhook when it happens, or do I do something about my gens, because from the looks of it, they aren't coming from that save until they absolutely need to. And so that was why eventually at some point I did go to pressure those gens. I extended outward. Because here's the thing, gang. After the patch change where you can't really do hook grabs at all because they don't exist, you can basically get destroyed by a 1v1. A survivor can run in and they can just unhook willfully. You don't have to worry about playing the grab game because if anything, they'll trade. But the thing is, the speed of the match, the speed of DBD, and that's not even factoring in breaking the 3-gen when it comes to overall pressuring gens to stop them from getting completed. It is not in Clown's favor when it comes to saying, okay, I'll just down the unhooker, hook the unhooker, and play around that. You're not going to have time for your game. The survivor's going to pre-run. They're probably going to get healed by something. You know what I mean? Overall, you're in a negative spot by having to 1v1 play around that last second trade. It's just not going to work in your favor. Instead, what I hoped for, and this is good, this is something you got to do, especially in these positions. This Nick Cage, what does y'all notice he doesn't have in his build? He has no fucking anti-tunnel. Absolutely zero anti-tunnel. So what happens when he gets unhooked, even though we're positioned far out trying to stop them from doing the gens? We go back in order to tunnel. Because here's the thing, gang. What is it that I point out around this too at this point in the match? My 3-gen's gone. When you lose a 3-gen on Clown, we were in a position, I believe it was 2 gens. We had 2 gens on one side, 2 on the other. You are now in a war of attrition. Or I believe that's not necessarily, actually no, attrition might not necessarily be the right term, but you're bleeding time. What I really mean is you yourself have to, you are on a timer. It is up to you with what time is left to get what you can. You can't decide for yourself to influence the time in a longer manner. You can't really necessarily make the match last as long up to your will. There's a hard cap on that because you don't have a 3-gen. You can't stop them from doing gen progress. There's nothing you can ultimately do, perks or not, from stopping those gens from eventually getting completed. You have to take what you can get, pull what you can get, and capitalize off of that. And that's what we did. We pushed outward toward the gen. We waited till the unhook happened. We went back to that unhook on Nick Cage. We tunneled Nick Cage because, again, no anti-tunnel. And this is where things got really dicey. This is where things, I mean, even with what happened, this is still a very easy win for the survivors. This was all on them for where they screwed things up here. Nick Cage goes down under a pallet. I'm able to get a very strong Kulunjin. I down him under a pallet that's literally right on top of one of the gens they're looking to do. It was literally right next to it, so I could simultaneously create a lot of pressure. Because a gen that has a lot of progress is basically, it's the same way that a killer commits to a chase. If you commit 60 seconds to a chase, it is fruitless. And a survivors even collectively commit 70% worth of progress on a gen that becomes fruitless. That's the same thing. They spend a lot of time specifically working on that one gen to get it done. And if you are able to kick it and pressure the regression on top of a slugged survivor, you are basically negating what they have gained from sitting on that gen. And that's what I did. I went for the long con because that was literally all I had. I knew, look, we've got 1, 2, 3 survivors minimum sitting on this tile, sitting on this pallet, sitting on this gen, trying to stop me from doing this gen. They're trying to stop me from hooking this Nick. And what the craziest part about it is Nick wasn't even on death hook. I didn't really get that part of it too. But anyways, we're over here sitting on this tile. And I knew that if I pick up early, I'm getting stunned by somebody. If it's not Claude, it's Renato. If it's not Renato, it's Shiva. You know, if I am not kicking this gen procedurally and consistently, they're going to tap it. Whether or not it's Shiva tapping it, it's Renato. Whether or not it's Renato, it's Claude. The regression is not going to take place. And in order to get some type of progress with the slug, I need to do more than just the slug. I need to do something about the pressure toward their objective that they've created, especially with my limited map mobility and being pressured around this one singular tile. Okay, that was my late game. That was my only win condition. So that's what I did. I sat on that tile. We tried to play around it. And in order to pull off what transpired required absolutely perfect micro gameplay. When it came from yellow bottle placement to pink bottle placement, from getting the injuries that I did, from getting the gen kicks when I did, faking the gen kicks, that was really the only reason that I had any shot, because the mistake that they made was committing in a macro sense around what they did, trying to see if they could prevent the pickup and the unhook on the Nick. Because as a result, I was able to down the Claude. As a result, I was able to injure the Renato. With everybody injured and Claude down next to the Nick, the really only saving play was Renato and Shiva going to heal, which was what they did. And that was basically my only shot. Because here's the thing too, gang. They didn't need everybody doing that even. They could have done it with 3 survivors if you include Nick on the ground, so two on the outside running interference. But, you know, it could even potentially possibly maybe been 1 if they were healthy. But if they just took 1 survivor game, 1 survivor to go do a gen on the other side of the map, because remember, they broke my 3 gen. We have 2 gens on one, or excuse me, 1 gen on one side, 2 on the other. If they just went, did a gen during the whole time all of that transpired, I would have gained nothing. Now, nobody here is adrenaline, but you know what would have happened? I probably would have maybe had 1 hook on a Claude. I would have had Nick dead. I would be going to have gotten Claude on her 2nd hook. This is during the post-gen phase. But I would have been pulling teeth for that 2K with all gen completion and the exit gates open, instead of a 3K with gens remaining. The only reason I was able to get, a 4K with gens remaining, the only reason that was able to happen was because they played full committed as a team around trying to prevent me from getting that unhook, that hook on the Nick. And that's just what happened. It backfired for him because our macro play was perfect. We seldom made any decision. We faked the gen kicks. We placed the yellow so we could pivot, get refreshes. We had pinks to both cut off chokes and prevent survivors from running interference coming in for Nick. We had pinks run up to get injuries so we could convert back to Nick without losing too much time to get them. We literally had to do everything perfectly with how they fully as a team played around protecting their teammate to get what we gained from that from our decisions. Because we otherwise, like I said, we should have lost this game handedly. We either would have lost this game or we would have pulled teeth for a 2K. But that's what this video is about, gang. This video, what I wanted to just show you guys, I wanted to show you guys what you still can technically do is Clown. If you really push the limit, remember, I said the glass ceiling of Clown is momentum. I talk about this in my guide. What y'all will see, if you really go back and look at the macro play of how I was throwing my yellows and pinks, playing around Nick on the ground and the gen, that is momentum. Momentum personified. So really, really look into that if you're curious on improving your own momentum. But that, you know, that is what you have to be able to do even in that situation. You have to do all of that just to, like I said, push back the sun. I hope y'all appreciated this video. We're going to be wrapping things up here. For those that don't know, I stream on Twitch TV. Arinad is my username, same as you'll see on here on YouTube. And until next time, gang, I hope y'all have a nice day, and everybody take care. Peace, gang.